look like new information has been revealed about Caitlin Clark's future contract with the Indiana.
What if I told you that the most valuable player in basketball today isn't on a multi-million-dollar contract? In fact, her official salary is less than what many entry-level corporate jobs pay. This is a shocking reality for Caitlin Clark, the athlete who single-handedly transformed the WNBA, but is trapped in an economic system that hasn't caught up to her worth. How can a player responsible for generating millions in revenue for her league and her city only take home a fraction of it? The answer lies in a contract standoff that could force the entire WNBA to rewrite its rulebook. If you think you know the whole story, think again. What we're about to uncover reveals a deep-seated conflict at the very heart of professional sports. Stick around, because by the end of this, you'll understand why this is about so much more than just basketball.
Telling everybody, Caitlin Clark's new contract is already in the works, bruh. The Indiana Fever is not wasting no time with making sure they dot their I's and cross all the T's when it comes to keeping Caitlin Clark on this Indiana.
Let's start with the numbers. Straight from the ledger. When Caitlin Clark was selected as the #1 overall pick by the Indiana Fever, she signed a standard WNBA rookie contract. The deal was for 4 years and a total of $338,056. That breaks down to an average annual salary of just $84,514. For the upcoming 2025 season, she is set to earn a base salary of $78,066. Let that number sink in for a moment. It's a figure that feels almost disconnected from the hype, the sold-out arenas, and the national media frenzy that follows her every move. This contract was a negotiation. It was a predetermined outcome, a function of the league's collective bargaining agreement that sets a strict scale for rookie pay. This is the foundation of the entire dilemma, a generational talent, operating on a standard-issue contract. But what makes this even more revealing is looking at the entire structure. Her compensation slowly climbs to $85,873 in 2026 and peaks at $97,582 in her final contract year in 2027. Even then, she will not be among the league's highest earners under this deal. This pay scale exists because the entire WNBA operates under a hard team salary cap of about $1.5 million. This means the entire Fever roster salaries combined cannot exceed this limit, a stark contrast to the NBA's soft cap system, which allows teams to spend much more to retain star players.
No, she's still on a rookie contract for the next couple years. But one thing I can tell you that I know definitively is that the organization is working on a massive contract for Caitlin Clark, future contract.
So, Clark's salary isn't just about her individual value. It's a symptom of a much larger systemic framework designed for league-wide stability, but one that severely limits what even its most marketable stars can earn directly from their teams. But to understand why those salary numbers are so shocking, you need to see the proof of what's now called the Caitlin Clark effect. Since she entered the league, the WNBA has been operating at a level of popularity it has never seen before. The league shattered its all-time single-season attendance record. On television, the impact was dramatic. It wasn't just her team that benefited. She became a rising tide that lifted all boats. One sports columnist called her a generational catalyst, and the numbers prove it. She didn't just join the league, she expanded it, bringing in millions of new fans who had never watched a WNBA game before. Her presence injected an estimated $36 million into the city of Indianapolis, an economic impact comparable to hosting a major national sporting event.
We know Caitlin Clark is ultimately going to be the person to yay or nay whatever solution they come up with. So they got to do everything in their best interest to get ahead of this thing way before it ever comes up. So word on the street is that the Indiana Fever is putting together proposals and putting together different things under the WNBA rules that they can for Caitlin Clark.
So when you hold her $78,000 salary next to the hundreds of millions of dollars in value she creates, the disconnect isn't just noticeable, it's staggering. The league itself saw a staggering 170% increase in viewership and a jaw-dropping 601% increase in merchandise sales in 2024, growth heavily attributed to her arrival. This isn't just a temporary bump. It's a fundamental reshaping of the league's commercial landscape. However, here's a critical point that fuels the entire pay debate. Despite this historic surge in revenue, the player's share is dramatically limited. Under the current CBA, WNBA players receive just over 9% of the league's total revenue, a far cry from a nearly 50% share that NBA players get. This means that even as the league's revenue reportedly doubled from $102 million to $200 million, the financial benefits for the players did not see a corresponding jump. This stark reality is why the Players Union decided to opt out of the current CBA, demanding a system that better reflects their contribution to this growing success. So, if her league salary is so modest, how is she actually building her wealth? The answer lies off the court in a powerful portfolio of endorsement deals that showcase her true market value.
All of this is about getting Caitlin Clark new contract done. They get her contract done, seal and deliver the future of this.
As of mid-2025, Caitlin Clark's net worth is estimated to be between $4 and $5 million. The cornerstone of this empire is a landmark signature shoe deal with Nike, a contract worth over $20 million that she signed even before being drafted. But that was just the beginning. She has since partnered with a who's who of major brands. According to a report by Sportico, Clark earned an estimated $11.1 million in 2024 from her endorsement deals alone. This means that a staggering 99% of her total earnings came from off-court activities, with just 1% coming from her actual WNBA salary. She is a powerhouse brand, a marketing executive's dream, and her financial success follows an endorsement-led model that highlights a critical flaw in the league's ability to compensate its stars directly. Her market value is so undeniable that before her rookie season even began, the Big Three basketball league made a jaw-dropping 8-figure offer reported to be worth $15 million. While she chose the WNBA, that offer alone is nearly 40 times the total value of her 4-year Fever contract. This external validation proves that her financial worth is not in question. The system she plays within is. In fact, an industry source suggested to The Athletic that it's hard to believe she's not worth close to $1 billion to the league, with a Harvard economist noting she might be worth 1,000 times her salary in franchise value. This chasm between her league salary and her actual economic impact is the core of the controversy. This brings us to the core of the problem, the system itself. The WNBA operates under a collective bargaining agreement, or CBA, which is a contract between the league and its players. This agreement sets strict rules on salaries, including a maximum cap on what any one player can earn. For the 2025 season, the highest salary in the entire WNBA is $249,244, earned by Clark's own teammate, Kelsey Mitchell. This supermax is the absolute ceiling. So, even if the Indiana Fever owners wanted to write Caitlin Clark a $10 million check to properly reflect her value, the league's rules literally make it impossible. The system was designed for an earlier era of the WNBA, with the goal of ensuring financial stability across all teams. But now, it's colliding head-on with a phenomenon it was never built to handle. The league is trapped by its own rulebook, and Clark's unprecedented success is exposing that very fact on a national stage. This pressure has now reached a boiling point. In October 2024, the Players Union officially opted out of the current CBA, demanding a new and fairer deal. The league and the union are now in high-stakes negotiations, with a deadline set for October 31st, 2025. If a new agreement isn't reached by then, the league faces a potential work stoppage that could jeopardize the 2026 season. This is the real-world consequence of the pay disparity. It's no longer just a discussion. It's a fight for the financial future of every player in the league, and the outcome will be shaped by the very conversation that Clark's presence has ignited. The disparity becomes truly jaw-dropping when you zoom out and look at the wider world of professional basketball. Compare Clark's 4-year, $338,056 deal with the contract signed by the number 1 pick in the 2024 NBA draft, Zachary Rizicher. His first-year salary alone was a reported $113 million. To be clear, that means Rizicher will earn more in a single game than Clark will make in an entire season. Over the life of his contract, he will make more than 300 times what Clark will over hers. This isn't a criticism of the NBA's pay, but a stark illustration of the chasm between the two leagues' economic models. The Indiana Fever and the entire WNBA are benefiting from a player with Clark's drawing power, but they are unable to pay her in a way that is remotely proportional to the value she generates. The root of this chasm lies in the massive revenue gap. The NBA generates a colossal $13 billion in revenue, while the WNBA earns about $200 million. This means the NBA's revenue is 52 times that of the WNBA. It's a completely different financial universe. This context is crucial. It's not that the WNBA doesn't want to pay its players more. It's that the entire economic structure, from media rights to sponsorship deals, is on a different scale. However, this is why the current negotiations are so critical. The WNBA is experiencing unprecedented growth, and players are demanding a revenue share model that mirrors that of the NBA, setting the stage for a more sustainable and equitable future for the sport. So, what are the Indiana Fever actually doing about this? While the term quiet panic might be dramatic, the franchise is undoubtedly navigating a period of intense strategic planning, working within a rigid system to secure their future while a much larger battle looms over the entire league. First, let's look at the Fever's immediate roster reality. For the 2026 season, Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and Michaela Timpson are the only players firmly locked in on their rookie scale contracts. This creates a significant challenge and an opportunity. The front office's priority is building a competitive team around this young core without much financial flexibility. Key starters from the 2025 season, like Natasha Howard, are free agents, and vital role players like Lexi Hull are restricted free agents, meaning the Fever will have to make tough financial decisions on who they can afford to bring back. Their most predictable move will likely involve using the core player designation on all-star guard Kelsey Mitchell. This gives the Fever exclusive negotiating rights to sign her to a one-year Supermax contract, ensuring Clark has a proven running mate for at least another season. This isn't a flashy, revolutionary deal, but it's a critical, within-the-rules move to maintain the team's competitive integrity. However, the Fever's hands are tied from making any truly groundbreaking offers to Clark at this moment. Her contract is predetermined by the rookie scale, and the Supermax salary for the 2025 season is capped at $249,244, a figure that, while the league maximum, is still wildly disconnected from her market value. The core of the issue is that the current CBA, which the Players Union has already opted out of, restricts what teams can pay. The real negotiation isn't just between Clark and the Fever, it's between the WNBPA and the league owners. This is where the Fever strategy extends beyond their own front office. They, along with Clark, are relying on the collective power of the Players Union to force systemic change. As of late September 2025, with the CBA set to expire on October 31st, the two sides are reported to be nowhere near a new deal. The players have been vocal that their top priority is a greater share of league revenue, which has skyrocketed. WNBPA Vice President Kelsey Plum stated, "First, second, third is rev share and salary." The players know the league is growing, and they want their compensation to reflect that growth directly. Fever player representative Lexi Hull echoed this, saying, "We need change to mirror that. The CBA negotiations will hopefully get us there." So, while the Fever's management may be preparing for an epic negotiation, it's an epic collective negotiation that will determine the entire league's financial future. Once a new CBA is in place, then the Fever can get truly creative. The new agreement is expected to address the very compensation issues Clark's situation highlights. With higher salary caps and new revenue sharing models, the Fever could potentially offer Clark a contract that, while still within new league rules, will be far more commensurate with her value. They could structure a long-term designated veteran extension, front-load the contract with significant bonuses, or leverage any new marketing pool agreements that are created. The path to a new kind of deal is being cleared not in a secret backroom in Indianapolis, but at the collective bargaining table. The Fever's clock is ticking in sync with the league's deadline, and the outcome will define not just Clark's future, but the financial trajectory of the WNBA for years to come. Ultimately, the story of Caitlin Clark's contract is not just about one player's paycheck. It is a defining stress test for the modern WNBA. The fundamental issue isn't simply that Clark is underpaid relative to her impact. It's that the entire economic architecture of the league is systematically designed to prevent players from capturing their true market value. Currently, WNBA players receive less than 10% of the league's total revenue, a stark contrast to the NBA's 50-50 revenue split with its players. This isn't an accidental disparity, but a structural feature. The league's ownership model further complicates matters. The NBA owns a significant stake in the WNBA, and team owners control less than 50% of the league, creating a situation where even a theoretical 50-50 revenue split would leave players with only about 21% of total revenues. This structure made sense when the league was struggling financially, but now that the WNBA is experiencing explosive growth, it has become a straitjacket preventing players from benefiting from the value they create. The upcoming CBA negotiations will be the most critical in the league's history, with Clark's situation as a central case study. The players aren't just asking for incremental raises. They're demanding a fundamentally new economic model. The Women's National Basketball Players Association has already opted out of the current CBA, and their central demand is for a true revenue-sharing agreement similar to what MLS and the NWSL have recently implemented. These models directly tie player compensation to league performance, particularly media rights revenue. WNBPA President Nneka Agwemike has emphasized that players want to be able to have that fair share moving forward, especially as we see all the investment going in. This forward-looking approach acknowledges that current negotiations will determine whether players benefit from the growth trajectory their talent and marketability are creating. The players seek what they term an equity-based model that evolves with the league's business success, potentially including ownership stakes similar to what the new unrivaled league offers its participants. This revolution is occurring against the backdrop of a women's sports sector experiencing hypergrowth. Between 2022 and 2024, women's sports revenue grew 4.5 times faster than men's sports, with the total U.S. women's sports market projected to reach $2.5 billion by 2030. The WNBA itself has secured an 11-year, $2.2 billion media rights deal set to begin in 2026, tripling its previous broadcast revenue. Yet this historic deal was agreed upon before the full force of Clark mania was evident, and many experts believe the league's media rights remain significantly undervalued. The league operates with artificial constraints that limit revenue generation, including a 40-game season that provides less than half the broadcast inventory of the NBA and inconsistent placement in prime viewing slots despite proven audience demand in specific time periods. These structural limitations, combined with the revenue-sharing model, create what one economist called a fundamental misallocation of resources that constrains the very growth the league claims to seek. The question is no longer about what Caitlin Clark is worth. Multiple analyses suggest she's responsible for generating approximately 26 to 27% of the WNBA's total economic activity, with one industry source stating, "It's hard to believe she's not worth close to $1 billion to the league." The real question is whether the WNBA is willing to change its entire economic structure to reflect the new reality she has created. The league stands at a crossroads. One path leads toward embracing a new model that properly incentivizes and rewards players, potentially unlocking the WNBA's full economic potential. The other path maintains the status quo, risking the departure of top talent to alternative leagues like Unrivaled or overseas opportunities, and potentially squandering this historic moment. As Clark's own agent, Aaron Kane, stated, "I think we're ready for a spin-off from the NBA. The NBA is incentivized to make decisions that are good for the NBA, and those are not always aligned with what's good for WNBA. The future of women's team sports is watching, and the decisions made in the next few years will echo for decades." This is a revolution, and it's being fought over a decimal point in a contract. The outcome will determine whether the WNBA becomes a true destination for the world's best basketball talent, or remains a development league for athletes who must seek their financial worth elsewhere. The players have made their position clear with the simple, powerful statement, "Pay us what you owe us." The league's response will reveal whether it truly recognizes that investing in players isn't an expense. It's a fundamental requirement for unlocking the WNBA's billion-dollar future. This situation is bigger than basketball. It's about how we value women's sports in America. What do you think the league should do? Should they tier up the rulebook and let the market decide a player's salary? Or does the current system protect the long-term health of the WNBA? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to stay on top of this developing story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and like this video. Your support helps us bring you the deepest dives into the stories that matter most. Thanks for watching.